Let's go out to Wheeling, West Virginia, and talk to Laura. Hey, Laura, what's up?
Hi, Dr. Don. How are you doing?
Great. How are you?
I am doing fantastic, thanks.
Awesome. What's up? How can I help?
All right. So my question is, how do you feel happy and secure spending money when you are financially stable, but you grew up in some kind of extreme poverty and insecurity?
Ooh, great question. So are you secure now?
Go ahead.
Y'all are secure now?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about where you are now. We're going to go backwards on this still.
Oh, okay. So I'm in my mid-30s, married to a wonderful guy, the kind most little girls dream about. Like, he's hands-on with our kids and great provider, stable, but also is a goofball.
So you sound like you're describing me, except for the stable part. That's so good. Kelly's rolling her eyes. She's like, no, he's not. All right. So you married a great guy.
Yes.
And hold on. Hold on.
Yeah.
And he married an incredible woman.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. And together, y'all have created what kind of life?
Okay. So we have two little ones, a 2-year-old, 1-year-old, and currently pregnant with our third. I am a stay-at-home mom. He has a good, stable job. We're not rolling in the dough, but we've crafted a very frugal life for ourselves. So 0 debt outside of our mortgage, which will be paid off in 5 or 10 years because we got a really good deal on the fixer-upper. And yeah, that's kind of what our life currently is looking like now.
Okay. Oh, I love that you just said that. I love that you just said it like that. Because people who grew up with not a lot say that sentence at the end of every cool thing that happens to them.
Yeah.
And not even cool things that happen to them, but cool things that they have absolutely worked their butts off for. And cool things that happen because they make sacrifices every single freaking day.
Yeah.
They say,
absolutely,
for right now, until this all goes away and I'm back living in a tent.
Yeah. I think that's where some of my, not the tent part, because I know my husband, would bend over backwards to make sure that we're, provided for.
Hey, Laura.
Yeah.
This whole thing about where you found yourself now is not all because of your husband. You're involved too.
True.
You didn't marry a fairy and he
no.
sprinkled dust on you. You've worked your butt off, haven't you?
I have, absolutely, yeah. And I got myself financially secure before we got married.
Okay, and let's be clear about this. You said we've created a very frugal life.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say you've created a life of freedom. And people think of poverty and wealth as a dollar amount. Poverty and wealth is about free or not free. Because I know some very rich people who are broke. They're leveraged to their souls in their vehicles, in their homes, in their business investments. Very non-liquid. And I know some school teachers who I consider wealthy because they don't owe anybody anything. They're not going to ever buy a house in Jamaica, but they can kind of do what they want in the world they've crafted. And you have done that.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. And maybe I'm just not living in that freedom yet.
You're not. Because here's why.
Especially for myself.
You've been running your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your childhood.
Yeah. So it was interesting.
Which is something people who grew up in madhouse say. They don't ever say it was terrible, awful. They're like, it was interesting.
Well, it wasn't a madhouse, but it was a cult. So I grew up in a cult. And my father was a drug addict.
That's not interesting, Laura. That's awful. Say it. It was a tough childhood.
It was. It was a tough childhood.
Well, you say it was an awful childhood.
I wouldn't say it was awful because my mom worked real hard to make sure that we were shielded from so much. Looking back as an adult now, I can see the stuff that she was trying to shield us from.
Laura,
But at the time, I didn't feel like I had a bad childhood.
just because your mom worked really hard and should be in the next Marvel movie because she's so extraordinary, doesn't mean that growing up in a cult with a father who was plagued by drug abuse wasn't awful.
True. That's true.
A cornerstone of you finding this peace that you're chasing that's so elusive to you is choosing reality.
Yeah.
And both things can be true.
Okay, that's fair.
Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I can be a real jerk right now and say your mom should have moved you 7,000 miles away from that.
True, yes.
And she did.
I have worked through some therapy and, you know, with some issues I had, you know, in relation to that.
Oh my gosh, you're so good at the vague game. But listen, almost all of us, our parents were both and. And I know my kids are going to have both and parents too.
Oh yeah, right? Mine too.
So it's important to speak truth. It's awful. Kids should not grow up in cults where adults are like you have to be shielded from your dad or from the other adults in your family circle. But fair enough. Was money really tight and tough?
Yes, especially when my dad left, and then shortly after, my mom did get us out of the cult. That was kind of all one big kerfuffle. And then, money was definitely tight, kind of to the point of, you know, where she and I are splitting a, 50-cent pot pie and there's nothing else in the house. So, we don't know where the next meal is coming from.
Yeah.
But then, she did get more stable. She got a good job. And
how old were you when all this happened?
13, 14.
Okay. All right.
And then, I hit my 20s and didn't do college. But I did end up getting a good, career for myself, that I was able to provide. And then from there, late 20s, met my husband. Then we got married and, started crafting what we wanted our life to look like. And kind of what has brought this up to me that maybe I have a financial hang up is that this house that we're living in, it's a fixer-upper for sure. Lots of potential. But our next big project is kind of a for me project, which would be the kitchen. Because right now, there's boards and stuff on the walls, so stuff doesn't blow in like it had been, but that's the kind of state it's in.
What kind of fixer-upper? This sounds more like a hunting blind.
No, it's a 4,000 square foot farmhouse Victorian.
With boards on the wall, so things don't blow in.
Well, now there's boards on the wall because my husband wanted to see what was behind the original walls to see what kind of work and electrical needed to be done.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple. I'm going to give you a couple of thoughts here. Okay.
Okay.
Number one, a kitchen is a heartbeat. It's the chest cavity of the family. This is not just for you. That's like your husband saying, hey, I don't want to do something like too, him being a craftsman, him being a cabinet maker and being like, I feel guilty about buying screwdrivers and drills and a saw. Like, no, dude, that's...
And I have no issues with spending on that kind of stuff.
Of course you don't, but that's his job.
Yeah.
And you've taken the role, you quit your career, and you've taken the role as homemaker. And this is the chest cavity of your family. This is where the heart beats.
Yep.
Build a nice kitchen for your family. Don't borrow money. Don't chain yourself to a credit card company to get this done.
And that's the thing, we have the money for it. But I'm like, well, what if we have another baby and we need to get another vehicle? In my brain.
Here it is. You're never going to find peace until that what if machine can finally be put to bed. Okay. And by the way, I didn't grow up in abject poverty like you. I did grow up and money was very, very scary. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, but not, I mean, we weren't splitting in one pot. I don't want to compare what I went through with what you went through. And I've spoken extensively about how I grew up. But Dad had a great job. He was a good policeman.
Mm-hmm.
Mom stayed home with the kids, with all three of us. But things were dicey. Okay.
Yeah.
Things were tight. And so, a couple of things. Have you heard me talk about the GPS pins?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
So, like if you're going somewhere, has anyone ever dropped a GPS pin in their phones for you to get somewhere?
Yes.
Okay. So your body does that to moments that may have cost you your life or that activated your fight or flight. It rests in your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have an actual GPS pin, but it's an easy analogy for me. Okay. Yeah. Here's a couple of things I think are happening. Number one, you grew up in a world where those people redid their kitchens.
Mm-hmm.
Those people, not us.
Yeah.
We're not those kind of people. We're the kind of people who fill in whatever your cult said to you.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, you have an identity issue that's going against your nervous system because the earliest wiring you have is those people over there do X, Y, or Z. This is why changing political affiliations is so hard. Right? Because they are the bad guys. And we think of this as purely intellectual. It's not. It encodes itself in our bodies. Okay, so number one, those people spend money on kitchens. We do this. They're evil. We're great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so your body put a GPS pin in those people, and now you're turning into one of those people. Your body starts sounding the alarms. The next thing is you're getting ready to have child number 3. You quit your job. What a job gives us is a sense of somewhat illusory, it's somewhat false, but a real sense of I'm driving my own train. And now you're not, quote unquote, making a paycheck. You're reliant on this guy you married.
Mm-hmm.
Your body put a GPS pin in relying on men. Because men will leave you. Men will lie to you. Men will fill in the blank. And even though he's wonderful and great and he can fix all these things inside your body knows don't hitch everything to somebody because remember what happened last time. That's number 2. Number 3, money could all go away. It could.
Mm-hmm.
It could. Do you guys have an emergency fund where you're your own bank?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
How much? Like worth of months of expenses?
I'd say probably about 6 to 8 months.
So all of your husband's job would have to go away.
Yeah.
And you would have to not work. And he would have to not work for 6 to 8 months before you had to borrow a penny.
Yeah.
The world would look radically different at that moment. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
So what I'm telling you is you're okay. Like I'm talking about like ash would be falling from the sky and like
the zombies would be coming around the corner.
That's right. Because even if your husband's job went away tomorrow, he would be at McDonald's, you would be at McDonald's, your neighbor would be watching your kids, and y'all would be able to stretch this thing out for at least a year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But I want you to remember this. This is not about data or facts. This is about your nervous system trying to keep you safe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So.
And that's why it feels so visceral.
Yeah, it very much does. To this day, money terrifies me. Terrifies me. It sets off a reaction in my body. Okay?
Yep.
And my show's doing pretty well. We're okay. We're doing great. Okay?
Yeah.
And even when I went to the auto dealership a year ago to buy a car, I went to go get one car, and at the last minute, I bought a Toyota Highlander. It's an amazing car. I could not spend that money. I had it in cash, right? Here's why I'm telling you that. You got to make peace. Does your husband love you?
Oh, yeah.
Does he make a good living?
Absolutely. Yes.
If his job went away, would he go get another job? He's that kind of man.
Oh, yeah.
Are you a good mom?
I am.
Have y'all created a world that is completely different from the one you grew up in?
100%.
Okay. Your body's always going to be trying to solve for what it knows. And what it knows is chaos. And what it knows is, And so every time something new comes along, like stability, it's going to try to drag you back. And here's the word I want to give you. And it's bananas. It's practice. It's practice. Okay. Do you have a thoughts journal? I wish I had a better name for it. I'm going to come up with a better name for it someday.
I have about 50 of them that I started with my ADHD and then didn't continue.
Okay. Very good. Awesome. Just like my house. All right. All ADHD is, by the way, is a body's response to chaos. It's trying to wrangle with it.
Yep.
Okay. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I have one right here with some stickers on it. I have Sub Pop, which is the record label that launched Nirvana, among others. Yeti, because I want to advertise for a cooler company. Michael Easter's 2% Club. I got this, and I carry it with me everywhere. You know what's mostly in it? Me writing down thoughts to get them out of my body and out of my head, and to ask myself this one question: is this true? We're going to run out of money. All right, I'm going to write that down. Is this true? Now we have 8 months worth in the bank. We're good. People who spend money on kitchen remodels are greedy, unbelievable. They're capitalist pigs. Is that true? No. Will my family be blessed and honored by the great kitchen? Yes. We'll be able to honor and bless people to let them come into our giant home and stay when they don't have a place to go? Yes. Will this be a warm place for my husband to come home to every night? Yes. Will this be a place that my kids are going to bring their kids home to? Yes. Right? That's you practicing.
Absolutely.
Okay? Here's a third thing I want you to keep in mind. It's this idea of ratios, okay? Ratios is what transformed my life. My friend Dave Ramsey taught me this. Dave grew up without a lot. I grew up without a lot, and then Dave's got way more than a lot. But here's what he had to say. If you have $10,000 and you buy a $1,000 car, that's X percentage of that money. Okay?
Yeah.
So you can look at somebody that has a new F-150 and think, oh my gosh, they spent $75,000 on that car. What a unbelievable, disgusting, gross. Well, if they're making X amount of money, then the percentage might just be the same. And they might be giving away a lot. And they might be fill in the blank, fill in the blank, fill in the blank, right? So when you grow up and you and your mom are splitting a pot pie, that's X percent of how much money you brought home that month, right?
Yeah.
Or how much money you had. Now, you'll have more than that. So when you look at your groceries, you're like, I can't believe we just spent this on groceries. Just do the ratios. Just do the ratios. And as long as those ratios don't get out of whack, you're going to be okay. And here's the last thing. Keep your eyes open and give. Give like crazy. Give like crazy. Don't give out of guilt. Give because you know. You know. You've been there. You haven't been able to breathe. You know. Hang on the line here, Laura. I'm going to send you my buddy Dave Ramsey's book, Total Money Makeover. And I want you to read that book with your husband. Make sure you're following those plans. And then I want you to give that book away to somebody who's struggling. Start that path. Start that giving path there. But hey, send pictures of that kitchen that y'all build. I want to see what it looks like and see how you honor your home, how you honor your family, how you honor the heartbeat of that family, that new family that y'all are building.